Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to our first comic book haul video. So, this is the third channel now in our Heroes and Legends network. We have a Magic the Gathering channel as well as a trading card channel. Now, this will be our comic book channel. I like to do at least a weekly haul video, and just to give you some idea of how I buy comic books, I don't necessarily go out every week looking for keys. I do enjoy watching like key haul videos and stuff on YouTube. They're awesome, but I don't really have the time to do that. So basically, what I will usually have is probably the comics that I pick up for the week. Just want to talk a little bit about what I'm reading, what's good, what maybe is not as good as it used to be, things that might be coming off my pull list. So I guess these are probably more of a pull list video than anything, but I do go out and I do get keys occasionally. I do like to go to flea markets and make some purchases, and I will show those when I do that. And at some point, I also like to make some videos showcasing maybe some of my favorite books that are in my collection, either by character, or writer, or company, or just different ways to do that. So, having said that, that's kind of what you can expect, I think, from my haul videos. This is the first one, so let's get started. The first book I have to show is Detective Comics 43. So this is one of the few books that I still read, probably from the New 52, and in the beginning I was reading basically everything from the New 52, so I don't know, I just feel like over the last few years they've lost a lot of writers and the quality's kind of gone down a little bit for a lot of the books. There's still some good writers out there, like I do like, of course, Jeff Johns I think is amazing, but he's only doing one book now because of his other obligations to the company. And Scott Snyder has been doing an incredible job on Batman, and Robert Venditti is a great writer, so they have some strength there, but it's not like it used to be for me, I guess. So Detective Comics is one that I still pick up, and mainly I think it's off the strength of Batman being probably my favorite character, so even more so than the writing and the art style, I just kind of still pick these up, and I don't always read them even, but I'm still picking them up, at least for now. Next book we got is Bloodshot Reborn. And this is by Jeff Lemire, who's been doing a fantastic job. So Valiant in general, I think, has been doing some great work. If you haven't been reading the Valiant universe books, they're very good, and they have some very strong writers right now. They've done a really fine job. They do have some deals to turn some of their properties into movies. Bloodshot was originally the first movie that was being talked about, and that kind of fell off. I haven't heard much about it, but Archer and Armstrong apparently is going to be the first movie that comes out, is what it sounds like anyway. Of course, that stuff can change all the time, so that's how it is as of at least recently. But aside from all that, Bloodshot Reborn, this is number 5, and Jeff Lemire is just doing an amazing job with this book. Next thing I picked up was Amazing Spider-Man, and this is the Renew Your Vows, which is part of the Secret Wars kind of alternate universe sort of stuff. So, I don't know, Secret Wars, there's a couple tie-ins I'm reading, and you'll see those as I kind of go through these haul videos that are okay, and there's some decent writers on. Like, I really like Dan Slott, so he does this Spider-Man book as well as the main title, and I still read his work, and he does a good job, although I don't really like kind of where they've taken the character. And Secret Wars itself, I stopped reading the main storyline. I just couldn't do it. I don't know if any of you have read it, and maybe there's some fans of it out there, but I read the first 2 parts and I just couldn't go on. It just was, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, but I do like some of the side stories, and you'll see, I think I have at least one other one here that's actually really good that I'm going to recommend. This is all right. So I do like Dan Slott, but like I said, the Secret Wars stuff is kind of hard for me to digest. Next book I picked up was Imperium number 7. And again, this is another of the Valiant books. These have all been great. This one's featuring Harada, which I'm sure he will be a main villain in the movie universe. And he's on the cover there as well in the background. So, yeah, definitely cool pickup, especially if you're into Valiant and into maybe some of the future movies. It'll be interesting to see kind of when these movies hit, if they do well, number 1. Well, if they get made, number 1. And if they do well, number 2, just what kind of impact we'll have on the Valiant books, both the old Valiant books from the 90s as well as some of these newer ones. All right, next is another Secret Wars tie-in. This one's Infinity Gauntlet, and this one kind of got me just because I was a huge fan of the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline and Thanos. So it says Infinity Gauntlet, so I picked it up. Honestly, I haven't read this series yet, so I will let you know more once I get a chance to do it. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of picking it up just because of the name. Next, we got Jupiter's Circle, and Mark Millar has been incredible. His properties almost feel like they're a little forced fed it to be movie properties. And Kick-Ass obviously was a big example. Then Secret Service. So I don't know if this is another one that he plans on turning into a movie franchise or not, but I have not read Jupiter's Circle yet, so I'm a little behind on this. The original Jupiter's Legacy book was really good, and it really prompted me to buy this. In a way, this is sort of like a filler between. This is more of a prequel to the first book, just because I'm sure they need to buy Frank Whiteley a little more time to draw the next series, which is really the part two of the miniseries. But this is more of a prequel. Millar still does an amazing job, though. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily like the movies, and the books are much better than the movies in every regard. I didn't mind Secret Service. I thought it was okay, but when you read the book, it's a lot better. It's just amazing. So, but yeah, Millar's just continuing to do a very fine job. Next book I picked up is Outcast, and this is by Robert Kirkman, of course, from Walking Dead fame. And I feel like in some ways anything Kirkman's going to put out, especially if it's something newer, and this is issue 11, so it's been about a year this has been coming out. People are going to pick it up, so yeah, I'm picking it up. It's actually a good story. Kirkman is a really fine writer. If you're somebody who watches the Walking Dead television show but has not for some reason read the books, I mean, get some of the big collections. I mean, the books are amazing. I love the television show. They do an awesome job, but the books are just better, uh, and this is supposedly in talks of being a series, I think, as well, which you never know, that could blow up as well, especially with Kirkman's name. So we'll see. Next is Star Wars Darth Vader. If you haven't been reading this series, this has actually been really strong. This is probably my favorite of the Star Wars series that Marvel's been doing. And you just get a unique look at Darth Vader as a character, and they've really kind of filled in the supporting cast of new characters that just feel like they're probably going to be somehow weaved into Star Wars lore as going forward. And there's some very strong, unique characters in here, and that's what I've really enjoyed about it. So I think some of these issues are gaining some value as well, where they first introduced some of these characters, like the droids you see here, which are almost like homicidal versions of C-3PO and R2-D2. So it's kind of crazy, but really good book. Probably my highest recommendation out of the Star Wars books that Marvel's putting out. We're moving on to a story line that's been really fantastic. This is Fade Out number 8, Brubaker and Phillips. If you're familiar with the work from Criminal or Fatale, you'll know that they do an incredible job. This storyline, it's another crime series and takes place in 1950s Hollywood, where the movie companies themselves basically create stars, and all the kind of back behind the scenes dealings that go on. And obviously there's a murder involved and a crime story like they're kind of used to writing, but just in a really good backdrop with some really interesting characters. So if you haven't read Fade Out, if maybe you read Fatale and just didn't jump on Fade Out for some reason, definitely check it out. Or if you're a fan of Criminal and you kind of jumped off at some point, definitely check this out. This is incredible. They do a really fun job. Next book I picked up was Guardians of Nowhere, which is basically Guardians of the Galaxy during the Secret Wars storyline. It's got a new name, and this is being written by Brian Michael Bendis. Bendis is by far probably my favorite writer at Marvel, and of course you may also know him for Powers, which is published through Marvel, but he writes independently, and that was recently a series that Sony had picked up for the PlayStation Network. But anyway, Guardians of Nowhere, Guardians of the Galaxy in general has been fantastic. Bendis has been an incredible writer. The influence from the movies, I think, helped to bring this book a lot of attention, as well as it does, You can feel the influence of the movies as well. Bendis did a good job of taking the characters from the movie and just kind of fleshing them out even more in the comic book. So really does a fine job with this. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do so. And Secret Wars, more Secret Wars, for someone who says they don't like Secret Wars. So here's Ultimate End. Again, Brian Michael Bendis is doing this one. As far as Secret Wars goes, this is probably my favorite tie-in. Like I said, there's a lot of them I'm not reading. In fact, the majority of them I'm not reading, including the main book. But this is really cool. Bendis and Bagley, Mark Bagley is the artist, but the two of them started the Ultimate Universe, and this is kind of the end of the Ultimate Universe. And great storyline. It's fun to see the Ultimate Universe characters interacting with the new Universe characters, and it'll be interesting to see kind of when it's all over who gets to stick around in the new Marvel Universe, I guess. But yeah, very good stuff. If you're only reading one Secret Wars tie-in, read this one. The only other one I really highly recommend that's a true tie-in, not counting like Guardians of Nowhere, which really is still Guardians of the Galaxy. I would say Old Man Logan, which is also another Brian Michael Bendis book. So, real good book there. And next one, just wanted to bring up, is Insufferable. Now, going back a number of years now, I want to say it's about 4 years maybe, Mark Waid did a book for Boom Studios called Irredeemable, which was basically a story of what if Superman just lost his mind one day and just became a supervillain? What would happen? What would that look at like? How would other superheroes deal with that? And somebody that powerful that can basically do whatever he wants is on the side of just complete chaos. And it was a very interesting and awesome storyline. And I want to say it went about 50 something issues. I could be wrong. It might be a little high, but about the time that he was leaving Boom Studios is when he stopped that book. He also had a companion book that started about a year and a half after Irredeemable began, and it was called Incorruptible. The idea was kind of the opposite. What if one of these super villains that was a villain saw what this character did and kind of became a superhero to combat it? And it's about somebody who was a villain changing his life to become a hero and trying to make a difference in a world that's really kind of fallen completely into chaos. Those two storylines, I know they have trades and stuff out there. Pick them up. They're amazing. So that ties into this purchase here. And this is Insufferable, number 4, and this is also by Mark Waid, and the artist is the same artist that worked with him on Incorruptible. Now, this is by IDW, so it's not by Boom, but it was originally published on Mark Waid's website, which he's trying to get more, not just himself, but other creators to publish digital comics and put them out there basically for free on his site. So this was originally published there. Now, this is the first time these stories are being published in paper form. I did read them online, and now that they're coming out monthly in comic book form, I'm definitely picking them up. Mark Waid is amazing, and in this storyline, kind of like we saw with Irredeemable and Incorruptible, it's sort of a similar concept. This is, imagine you have Batman and Robin, but Robin is kind of a douchebag, and Batman is not a whole lot better, basically. So it's just kind of another one of those kind of spins on superhero tropes that you're already familiar with, but really incredible. This is only the 4th issue, so you can probably still pick up the first 3 out there. I don't think this is on a lot of people's radars, but Mark Waid just does an amazing job with this. In addition, I picked up the subscription Variant. I'm not big on Variant covers. I used to be. I used to buy Variant covers and spend way too much money on them. But Variant covers, most of the time, they drop in value after you actually make the initial purchase. They're not fantastic collector's items unless they happen to be a key issue. So I just buy ones that are really kind of special to me, and I do really like this series, and I like Mark Waid and what he's done with it. So yeah, this one I pick up. All right, so my last book for the week, and this will be my pick of the week for if you're only buying one book out there, this might be the one you want to pick up from your comic book store. This is We Stand on Guard, number 2 by Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan is incredible. So he wrote Why the Last Man, which is the most famous thing that he's put out. But he's been working on Saga last few years. Saga is incredible, and he usually doesn't write more than one comic book series at a time. So he's still putting out his work on Saga, and now this book came out. The first issue was last month. This is the second issue, and this is amazing. So this is basically a story that takes place in the future, and far enough in the future where technology's advanced and a little different, not quite like Star Warsy or anything like that, but better technology. And this is a story where the United States actually invades Canada, and this is about the freedom fighters in Canada dealing with the U.S. occupation, and it's very interesting. There's a lot of kind of like intrigue going on, and some things that you're not really quite sure yet what's happening, and whose side people are on, or if someone's a spy or an agent. It's very interesting stuff. Really great book. Check it out. As far as Brian K. Vaughan goes, he's actually also going to do another book starting in October called Paper Girls, which also looks very interesting. There's a preview for it in the first issue of We Stand on Guard. So I'm not sure why he's found so much time to work on these books, but I'm very happy about it because he's definitely one of the best writers out there. And I will say, even like, okay, why the Last Man is his most famous work, but even his stuff on Marvel he used to do. He did a Wolverine, I think Marvel Knights 3-part miniseries, which was really good. But one of my favorite Brian K. Vaughan storylines was in Ultimate X-Men, where he kind of did the ultimate version of characters like Mojo and Longshot, which traditionally are kind of odd characters in the X-Men universe, but he reworked them in the Ultimate Universe to be awesome. So Longshot was always kind of a joke, but Longshot was amazing in this miniseries, or in this story arc that he did. So check it out. Nightcrawler is featured in that too, and he's just, the way he writes those characters is really awesome. So I won't ruin anything, but check out his run on Ultimate X-Men if you get a chance. It's incredible. So that's the haul for the week. I'll be back again next week with what I pick up. And hey, as always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.